Hey, so I finally wrapped up the install on your Roman props, Graflex Flash Gun 4. It's installed with CFX and a Goth3D Designs Knight chassis. So with this hilt, we had to do a few conversions on it because originally it came as a flash gun replica. So I removed the flash gun bulb assembly, installed the KR Saber's standard Graflex blade holder, as well as a Goth3D Designs chassis. Up here, we had to switch out the slotted head screw for the blade retention screw, because the original one is a display one in that the screw doesn't protrude at all into the blade holder, so it can't actually hold onto a blade. Had to file down these Fulmer smooth pins, these brass pins over here. Added back the brass sync contact for accuracy. Up here you have your red button, which is the main activation switch. We swapped out the slide switch over here. So this is the part that was giving us quite a bit of trouble. Swapped it over to the Graflex Shop slide switch assembly, which is hold on with a clip on the other end, which makes actuation of the switch, the auxiliary switch, a lot easier. Over here we have our shine through glass eye, got our clamp, the bubble strip, got the lower shell here with the grips reapplied with a more accurate template grip guide. Got your D-ring down here. And this is all set up fairly accurate to the A New Hope version of the Graflex. Although there were some new discoveries a few years ago with some rivet screws over here, which aren't really added. So the grips are reapplied with Wanawanga's more accurate grip guide. So the spacing on these grips are actually not equidistant. They're actually, the angling varies a little bit between the grips. So let's open up this Graflex. So to open up the Graflex, just undo the lever, just loosen it. You want to push the lower shell in and then twist it. That way it gets it out of the J-lock groove, and then just slide it out. Similarly, with the clamp, you want to push it up, twist it, and then slide it down, like so. So there's your Goth3D Designs chassis. Crystal chamber in there. You got your CFX board over here. There's a little latch here to make accessing the SD card as well as the USB port a little bit easier. Got a recharge port, 2.1mm round recharge port. Got a kill switch here, 28mm bass speaker. So to free up the chassis, there are a few things that you kind of need to do. You would need to undo the red button, just unscrew it. You need to unscrew the glass eye, because the glass eye is actually what holds in the main chassis in place. So unscrew that. And because of how the blade holder is set up, sometimes the tolerances are a little bit different in that this physical tactile switch here may actually catch on the upper shell as you're removing it. So what I like to do is just kind of like push down on it, making sure that the switch doesn't catch on the shell, and then you just slide it out. So here's a Goth3D Designs chassis. Let me boot up the saber. So you have your KR Saber's standard blade holder up here. Got the main switch, which goes under the red button here. We've got a little auxiliary switch here, which when you press down on the slide switch, it would actually press down on this physical switch over here. We've got your CFX board down here. Under this cover, it's just clipped on there. Got your crystal chamber with weathered brass parts. And then the entire chassis has been kind of done in a weathered finish. I went over it with silver rub and buff for the main chassis parts, the doors and the latches I went over with gold rub and buff, and then I did a burnt umber acrylic dry wash just to kind of give it that weathered look. So let's boot up the saber. Actually, the saber's already been booted. So to turn on the saber, just press the main button. So this is the Hoth font, so you can kind of hear the blizzard in the background. Got your illuminate and neopixel connector over there. Slide switch, we can do right now, you can just press on. Got your crystal chamber over there. It's kind of a post off where the crystal chamber and the neopixel connector still lights up until the sound fades out. So I'm gonna put the chassis back into the hilts, and we can kind of go over some of the features of the saber itself. So I like to toggle off the kill switch just in case anything catches on the hilt as you're inserting it. But to insert the saber back in the hilt, you can slide, make sure that this button is aligned with the red button there. Just carefully slide it in. You'll notice that there's like a little ledge here. This actually slides behind this black piece there. So make sure that's aligned. Carefully slide it in. And you want to make sure that that silver piece is, or the aluminum piece is aligned. So I like to also press down on the black anodized part of the blade holder. That way the switch has some clearance. So slide up like so. And then also when inserting the chassis, I like to make sure that the slide switch is kind of pushed all the way up. Then I like to lock in the glass eye, so this locks in the chassis in place. So it can't come out anymore. And then I thread in or screw in the red button. Make sure that the slide switch isn't catching on the auxiliary switch, and slid all the way up. And then boot the saber back up. And then let's put the clamp and the lower shell back on. So for the A New Hope configuration, you want to make sure that the clamp is, if the, let's see, the red eye is facing, or the red button is facing you, you want the clamp on the left, like so. So insert it that way. You want to line up these two grooves here with the J-lock. Just line up. You may even want to squeeze the upper shell a little bit so it slides in. Like so. Slide it all the way in. Rotate it counterclockwise to get into that groove there. Slide it back. So now this is slid in place. It may still be a little bit loose because it still relies on the actual lever to latch it in place. And then for A New Hope, you want the rivets for the D-ring opposite of the control box, and you want the D-ring kind of facing the control box. So inserting it this way, like that. Like so. Push it all the way in, rotate it clockwise, actually. Get it into that little groove, and then you just lock it in, like so. It's snug with the J-lock system in. So there your saber all lit up. You got your shine through glass eye there. And you also have sound venting, just kind of discrete sound venting that drilled out under the grips all along the bottom of them. So it's not going to be as loud as if the speaker is completely out in the open, because it is a more confined space, but at the very least you have sound venting now near the pommel. So let's put a blade in here. So to put a blade in, this is the blade retention screw that you want to back out. It's a slotted head screw, so you want to take a kind of a flat head and just very carefully unscrew it. I like to kind of put my thumb near it in case it comes loose. And then I also back up the glass eye just a little bit. You don't want to back it up all the way because this locks the chassis in place. But the threads of the glass eye do protrude a little bit into the hilt, so the blade, which I have here, like a short dagger blade, it may prevent the blade from going all the way in. So here's a test blade I have. To insert it, you want to make sure that you open up the bunny ears. So just kind of like press down on the bunny ears, insert the blade carefully, slide it in, and then push it all the way in until you feel some springiness to it. That means the NeoPixel connector has connected with the blade. So I'm going to turn on just to test that's actually connected. So to tighten it, just tighten the glass eye a little bit, and then carefully tighten the slotted head screw. You don't want to tighten this all the way because you don't want to damage the blade, but just enough that it catches against the blade and pushes it against the hilt for better blade retention. So as you can see, there is a little bit of a gap there once it's actually tightened and holding the blade in place. Switch up there, and your auxiliary switch over here. So the auxiliary switch, you kind of press against it, slide it down, and then push it back up. So slide and release. If you slide it down and keep it there, it's going to kind of get stuck and lock up. So you just kind of want to slide it down, and then push it back up. Accent swings, or sorry, smooth swings. Accent swings. Flash and clash. Flash and locks, as I showed before. You can hold it down for lockup. You can also change the color on it. So slide down the slide switch and press the main switch. It goes into spectrum mode, and they just rotate the hilts to cycle through the colors. And then once you're happy with the color, just hold down the auxiliary switch. Oops. And you press the main switch. So to lock in the color, you just tap the auxiliary switch. Let's go through that again. Oops. Through some of the sound fonts on the Saber. So to go into sound font, the sound font menu, you want to hold the auxiliary switch. You want to hold it until it goes after the beep and it says sound font selection, and you just tap the buttons to kind of cycle through them.
This is General Kenobi.
General Kenobi.
Goodness, you're not one to trifle with, are you?
And then you just hold down on the auxiliary switch to lock in that sound font.
I have a bad feeling about this. Let the negotiations begin.
So there you go.
This is the last time Cody takes a day off.
Yep, that's on our post-off sound. So there you go. That's your Roman Props Graflex. The only thing left would be to possibly change out the blade retention screw, because right now I just have like a regular stainless steel slotted screw there. Saber Armory used to offer a more accurate blade retention screw for this with longer threads. It's currently out of stock. I've asked them to restock it, so maybe it'll come back in stock eventually. But yeah, otherwise, here you go. I'll send the manual over to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And once we're ready with this, we can get this shipped out to you as soon as possible. Thank you.